Hello, I'm making this video to show you some of the sharpening techniques I use in Affinity Photo 2. I posted a Lagoon Nebula, this Lagoon Nebula on Facebook, and lots of people asked, not lots of people, some people asked me about my sharpening techniques, so I thought I would share. There's not a lot of videos online on Seestar data. Mostly that people are working with really nice data captured on great cameras. So as you know, Seestar data is a little bit more challenging. So I thought I'd make this for those of us with Seestars. I'm not going to try to babble too much. I've been accused of babbling in the past. So let's get right into it. Um, so this is my Lagoon Nebula, and I'll bring it up on Facebook. I've already done my normal workflow in Pixinsight. Besides the mosaic stuff, I've used Grexpert to remove the background, the gradient, and I've done image solve and SPCC, and I've done blur exterminator, noise exterminator, and star exterminator. And now I'm left with this. The reason I'm not starting right from Affinity Photo 2 is because I wanted to show you how I got the different Hubble palettes that I've been using. This image is, I believe, HSO palette. And the way I do that is I use the Grexpert Toolmaker script. They have a spot called Toolbox here where they have lots of scripts, and I use Create Hubble Palette from OSC. So if I click on that, it's going to take my image and give me some options here of what kind of palette I want to use, want to change this into. And in a minute I'll show you the different ones that I've used, but let's take a look here and see what I've got. So okay, so here's the drop down menu of the different ones you can choose from: HOO, HSO. Every time you click it, it will change. This is the one I used for the picture I showed you before. There's SHO, OSH, OHS, 4X, SHO, 4X, HOO. So I'm actually going to be trying this 4X HOO. I haven't seen a lot of examples online, but I'm going to give it a shot. So just to show you, I'll hit 4X HOO, let it do its thing. And then we're just going to hit check here. And it's going to break this down into hydrogen alpha, SiOii, oxygen 3. The different formats we need. So as you can see, it's done that. They're kind of ugly, but it doesn't matter. These are the files that we're going to be using. And then I just go back into the same Grexpert tool script and I go narrowband hue combination. So narrowband hue combination, and I'm going to just insert the files I need here. HA, OIII, SII, and this last one's optional. It's the main one it made when it did this 4X HOO clone. I put this in here. I feel like it adds more depth to the image, more contrast and detail. So, and then it'll give you a look. You can preview, see what it looks like. Gives you a nice preview, and you get to see the colors. You can mess around with the sliders some. In this case, I'm not going to mess around with the sliders because I'm not really even sure. I've never done 4X HOO before, so this is a learning experience for me as well. So I'm just going to keep it the way they are, and then you hit generate. I can get all this stuff out of the way. We don't need any of this. And it's going to give us our generated image that we can stretch to see what it looks like here. Yeah, I guess I don't know how different it's going to look from the original version, but anyway, I see lots of color in here. And normally the way I stretch it, I use the Bill Blanchard HT Stretched Unlinked Tooltip. I think I got this from the Lucomatico, YouTube Lucomatico tutorials on processing in Pixinsight, and he's got it, but Bill Blanchard is the maker of these. So there's a couple options to stretch. You can stretch it your own. You can use one of these tools. I've also in the past used Soft Stretch, Easy Processing Suite Soft Stretch, or SETI Astro Statistical Stretch, but for the narrowband hue combination versions of these, I find this one usually works the best, the unlinked stretch. Yeah, looks nice. So in this case, this is the point now where I would, I forgot to generate the star image when I was doing this to set up the video, but I have this done already. But normally I would take the star image and I would use the SETI Astro Star Stretch on the stars. I really should have showed that to you. This is a great script. I really love it. It makes beautiful stars. There's two sliders. One adjusts how many stars are in the frame. The other adjusts the kind of saturation of the stars. But this really works awesome. Maybe some other day I'll show this. I wish I had saved the stars when I did it. But anyway, that's what I would use to stretch the stars. Then I would save the stars as a 16-bit TIFF, and then I would save this, just file export. Not export, save as, and I would just save this as a TIFF, hit save, and change to 16 gigabyte. You can 16-bit. You can use 32-bit in Pixinsight, but I've been told that with this camera style and quality, there's really no reason to use 32-bit, and it is actually more processing intensive. Things are a little bit slower. Sometimes my computer hangs up doing it, so 16-bit is pretty good. Anyway, so I would save that, and as you'll see here, I've already saved the ones I've done in the past. We'll take a look here. So as you can see, I've got an HO04X, the one we're doing now. I've got an HSO, this is the one I processed previously. I've got an SHO4X, which the 4X is a little bit, I guess, brighter reds. Maybe I did HSO4X with this. Now I can't even remember. I have to see on Facebook what I put. I think this was just HSO, but I'm not positive. Anyway, so I have this saved and I have the star saved. And this is what we're going to use in Affinity Photo 2. So let's get into Affinity Photo 2. So I have all these macros that I downloaded from James Ritson. You can search his James Ritson, and he has a bunch of macros made for Affinity Photo 2, and they're actually really helpful in the beginning, but once I started delving more into it and seeing how the tools work, I don't really use these as much anymore. I just like having my own control, but these are actually really brilliant macros, so I suggest watching his video, and he shows you how to use each one, and there's even a manual you can print out. But they're pretty worthwhile to have, but actually in this case I'm not going to use them at all. So let's go ahead and open up our files. So I'm just going to bring in this was the HOO, right? I'm just going to bring in the HO4X, yeah, and see what we've got here. So you've got histogram in the bottom right, and normally we just duplicate the background layer and save an original that we can go back to whenever we need to. I'm gonna use some workflow. Okay, so a lot of this stuff I got from Sky Story on YouTube. I highly recommend his videos. He really knows about frequency separation, which is what we're gonna do here. And he probably knows way better than I do with any of this. I'm just kind of following him. And I'm also following a workflow I learned from another video online. I can't remember offhand. But so anyway, I definitely recommend Sky Story if you want to know how he does it. But you can see the background's kind of lousy here, but the colors are nice. So first thing I'm going to do is just a brightness and contrast adjustment here. Make it a little bit brighter. Add a little bit more contrast. Fix the background. You want to make sure you're not clipping, so you keep an eye here. I could open up levels and close up this black point some, but it's actually kind of easier to work with it without clipping, just doing this initially, the brightness, contrast, and then the next one is the shadows and highlights. So you can see when you're messing with this that it will kind of adjust the histogram some. And I kind of just do it this way. And I really don't like adding any highlights at all. It blows out the core often, so I don't usually touch the highlights here. Anyway, and then probably what I'll do next is maybe just a little bit of a curves adjustment. I can just darken up this black point. I like to use the picker tool here. And I'm just gonna drag this down a little bit and make it a little bit darker, and then pick a highlighted area that I want to kind of just a little bit. The script, the build, blanch, and stretch script does a good job of really stretching this, so I don't have to adjust the curves too much. And then I think at this point I will just see where my color's at. I'm going to use the saturation tool, but I really don't want to saturate the background. You can see because of my Bordeaux, I already get some like real modeling in here. I cannot get rid of this, and I think it's just Bordeaux related. If anybody knows how to get rid of this modeling that happens in the background, please let me know. I would love to hear your solutions for it. But I haven't found a way. I just assume it's my Bordeaux, especially my southern sky where the Lagoon Nebula is. Lots of high-rise apartments. It's not nice at all. So, but this has lots of, this is a great high signal target. So still, I think it turned out well. Just, I'm stuck with my Bordeaux situation. So in this case, I need to use a luminance mask. These are the different layers and mask adjustment tools here. I'm going to use a luminosity range mask, and I'm just going to put this at the top level. If you're in the curves adjustment, it will just affect the curves, but I'm going to put it at the top level to affect everything. And you don't really get to see what it looks like till you hit preview, and then you can actually pull down the slider and make a luminosity mask this way. Usually just try to keep the areas I want to saturate and then make it as bright as possible. I don't really use any blurring here. I think that's about what I need, and I'm going to open up the saturation tool, drag the mask onto the saturation tool, and I don't think we'll need too much saturation here. Got to see what the colors look like, but yeah, just drag this up until you start to get some coloring artifacts. It doesn't have to be perfect right from the start, but yeah, I think this is looking kind of nice. I'm not getting too much coloring artifacts here. Some of this stuff will get fixed up, I think, but for the most part, I don't think we want to mess with this too much. I think maybe we're right about 74% or so. I try to make my images look good zoomed out. I don't, some people care what they look like all the way zoomed in, but I kind of just want a nice representation of them zoomed out, and I think that looks pretty good. I like this coloring way better. So already I don't really like this 4x pattern, but it's okay. It's just a different version. No problem. Everybody has their taste. There's some hue shift stuff you can mess with here if you want. See, I can get it back to looking like the original of the HSO pattern if I wanted to with this. And actually, I think the 4x is supposed to look a little bit redder like this. When I looked online, the only 4x pattern I could really find was just an HOO, not 4x. I'm sorry, it's here. And the blue is a little bit darker in this version, and the red's here. So I think I'm just going to try to model it after that. So, by the way, I'm going to close Pixinsight so I'm not having resource intensive issues. So you can see this red matches a little bit better with the with this version of it. Maybe like that. And then I guess I can maybe shift the blues. I don't really like messing with this hue slider because it can really start to cause problems with the image, and I don't want to get into issues with that. And actually I don't use it that often, so I'm not 100% versed on it, but I don't know. This is just mostly affecting. I think I'm gonna leave the blue alone for now. There's another way that I can do it in color balancing. I don't even think I need to do it with hue. Maybe I don't even need to do the red with hue either. But let's just leave it like this for now. I think it's okay. So at least I have some saturation to work with, and then I can begin to adjust the colors some more. And actually, I'm sorry, I'm gonna reset this tool. I don't want to mess with the red right now. I'm just gonna go back to my original saturation, and I'll use a different tool to mess with the colors. Alright, so normally at this point I'm gonna just create a new pixel image. I'm gonna merge all these layers down to one pixel image, and then I'm going to just group these and get them out of the way. Just start working with this now. So that's the initial thing to get it kind of like looking nice. And so now I'm faced with a few forks in the road here of where I can go. I think at this point I will do the coloring. So there's several tools to do color with. There's a channel mixer, there's a selective color, and there's a color balance. I don't know how anybody wants me to directly go into each and every one of these. I think I'm just going to show you how I do it. And if you want to learn more about these, you can watch some other videos that are out there that show you. But the channel mixer, you can adjust each individual color. So here's where I can really mess with the red and get it a little bit brighter. And just keep in mind this affects the whole image as well, not just the red. So, you know, if I crank up the green sliders or the blue sliders, it's going to adjust the image some. But I think the red we're looking for here. I don't want to keep copying an image, but I've never done this before, so I'm not really quite sure what kind of red I'm looking for here. It's like a really wine red. So let's just keep messing with the colors here. This is the green slider, which is pretty much going to boost everything. And sometimes I like to back off on the green slider, and you have your different, you can even set the alpha, how much of a difference it makes in the image. And yeah, this is where we're going to get the blue, this more of this less teal, less sky blue, and more of this deeper blue. I'm not going to try to match this guy's color exactly, but I think I kind of like the blue like this. You can see it's starting to affect the background some, so I have to be careful. But there's a way to do that later on. I can affect that later on. But anyway, I think this is looking pretty close to what it's supposed to be, I guess. I don't know. If I wanted to, I could mess with the actual tones, selective color, not selective color, color balance. So you can adjust the shadows if I wanted to try to get some of that blue out of the shadows, or adjust the shadows however I made changes with them. You can see I can get them looking back more normal if I wanted. But this is a little bit blacker. If I take some of the blue out of the shadows, I can do that. Same with the oh, why is this not a midtones? I don't think I need to mess with any of this. This is just trial and error. I'm not a color expert, and I'm not 100% sure what each slider does, but don't really know how to get this wine color. But I'm not even sure if I should be copying as much. I don't think it matters too much. I'll be doing more changes. You can see the highlights are starting to get blown out a little bit from messing with the color some, so I have to be careful. I like this blue here I'm getting. So you can see the highlights getting blown out. I have to be really careful here. You can always brush some of the highlights out. If you make a change and you feel like it's blowing out the highlights, you can kind of adjust that to, you can use the brush to paint that out and get your highlights back. Sky Story does this often. If you just use the erase brush, you can kind of get some of this highlight back. You can see how I'm getting more detail back, not so much blown out highlights anymore. But anyway, I think this is looking okay. I don't really worry about the histogram too much like a lot of people do. Maybe that's my fault and my lack of knowledge, but I still think this is looking alright. So at this point, I mean, also there's another way you can adjust the colors. If you want to use the curves tool, you can also adjust the colors specifically in the curves tool, the different colors if you want. Not really sure if it's necessary here or not. This is just pulling down the red some. I don't know if I need any red highlights. I can adjust the green and blue here. I don't know what's gonna happen if I feel like this is pretty much the same as this channel mixer. They're kind of doing the same thing, in my opinion. I don't know. I'm not, like I said, I'm not that well versed on the colors, but I feel like this is really doing the same thing. Let's see what happens with the blue if I mess with the blue. Can really put the blue in the highlights here. Can't go too far and affect the background though. That kind of looks nice here. If I drop the blue out some. Anyway, I'm just going to delete this toolbar because I think it still looks okay. Might be a little bit too much blue in these areas. I might have overdone it with the channel mixer. Why do I have two channel mixers? Maybe one of these I don't need. You can see the difference. It's way brighter, but my this might have just happened in the I didn't use this selective color. This might have just happened when I was doing the shadow adjustments. I need a little bit more like that. All right, I think I'll probably be messing with this a lot. I don't want to make this video so long by changing so many things and being picky. Let's get to the thing I wanted to show you guys, which is the sharpening. So I'm gonna merge again, get a new pixel layer, get rid of this extra color work I did, group these and get them out of the way. Okay, so now I've got this kind of pixel layer. Let's just say this is the way I wanted it to be in the end. Let's say I'm happy with all these colors and this is what I wanted. Now I'm just going to show you how I do the sharpening. So at this point I would just duplicate the pixel layer, and you can use the unsaturated, kind of treating it like a luminance layer to do the sharpening, but I don't think it's actually necessary to have this as a unsaturated version. So if you duplicate it 3 times, what we're going to do is we're going to have 3 different amounts of sharpening that we're going to add. We're going to have a coarse level, we're going to have a medium level, and we're going to have a fine level. So once I have those, I'm going to turn off everything except the fine level, and I'm going to use a filter here called frequency separation. And I'm going to click on this, drag this slider. This just shows you a preview of the differences on each side. I'm going to drag a slider all the way to the right, and I'm going to drag the radiance all the way to the left, just to give you an idea how this works. As I increase the radius, you're going to see pieces of the nebula appearing all the way up until you have a lot of it showing. And basically, I want to just adjust this slider to have 3 different levels of frequency separation radius that we're going to use as a sharpening tool. So the coarse layer is going to be 100, medium layer I usually somewhere in the high 20s, and the fine layer, depending on the target, can be a little bit or can be closer to 10. I think in this case I'm gonna just do maybe like a 7 here. So you hit apply, and it's gonna break it down into a high frequency level and a low frequency level. Just so you know, this low frequency level is the color. You can actually use this and adjust this low frequency level if you wanted to pull out more colors. For instance, if I wanted, I could add a curves tool to this, and well, I wouldn't want to do this with, alright, I'll show you this in a little bit. I wouldn't want to do this with this version of it. But anyway, we're not going to use the low frequency here. We're just using the high frequency. And we're going to rename this again. This was our fine level. And we're going to do the same thing for medium. turn off the fine, turn on the medium, filters, frequency separation, and like I said, I'm going to put this in the high 20s. It's a little too much. Maybe I'll do mid to low. I'm going to do about here. And delete the low frequency. You don't need this. This is our medium level. And then we'll get to the coarse here. And then the coarse is just going to be the slider all the way to the right max frequency separation. Apply. Now here with this low frequency, if you wanted to, let's turn off the high frequency. The low frequency is all your color here. So if you had some color you were really trying to draw out of an image, you can actually add this. You can adjust this with the curves layer and get the color you want out of it. And then you can actually use this curves layer to fold back into your image to have the color. So if I wanted to like just focus on getting the blue out or something like that, I can adjust this. If I just wanted to work on the red, you can actually change the different sliders. But in this case, if I wanted to like increase the colors of the outline red here, I could just mess with this, and I could save this, and I can fold it back into the image. If I have the pixel layer selected, I can use a composite, maybe like soft light composite here, and I can adjust the opacity. Well, this is not really working the way it's supposed to. Do I have any other layers here? Maybe I should do linear. Anyway, I cannot remember exactly how I did this, but there is a way to fold this back in to adjust the color so you can add more color to your image. I don't remember 100% how I did it. Maybe it was a hue or saturation. There's different composites here, and can't remember what exactly composite you use for that, but the point is you can use this to increase your images. Sky Story does this in his M16 Eagle Nebula processing. So if you watch his 4-part video on Eagle Nebula processing, you'll be able to see how he uses this. But we don't need this layer at all, so I'm going to delete it. And now you see, if you turn on all these frequency levels with the picture layer, it looks terrible, right? So now we've got to adjust each one. So I'm going to just work on the fine for now, and we're going to bring the opacity all the way down to 0 so we can just have our image to look at. And this is where we're going to slide it up, and we're going to slide it up until the image starts to get a little bit grainy. And Seestar images to me already look grainy, so this is really just, I think, a preference, and sometimes it helps to zoom in here to see what's going on. But you can see as I pull this all the way up 100, it just looks a little bit grainy. But if I bring it down, maybe it's hard to see on the video, I don't know, but if I bring it up some, you can start to see this looks more sharp than grainy. Not so grainy, but pretty sharp. So this one I'm going to do about 41%, back out to see what it looks like. Yeah, it's pretty sharp there. Then I'm going to turn on the medium, and I'm going to adjust the medium, bring the slider all the way back down to 0, and let's see what it looks like as we start to move this up some. This is going to start to affect some of the outer shadows in the nebula and some of the other structure to the nebula. Ooh, this looks nice. See, it's pretty sharp, I think. I really like this sharpening technique. I think it's, I mean, I'm sure Pixinsight does similar stuff to this with maybe with the MLT, and probably a lot of these processes are overlapping with each other, but to me, this is, you can see the graininess, but to me, I really like the adjustment on this. And I mean, you could make 10 different frequency separation layers and of all different controls if you wanted, and you could really go nuts with this if you're a fanatic about control of your images. But I think I'm going to do maybe around 30% to this. Maybe it's a little bit grainy, but I think this is okay. And then I'm going to go to the high, select the high. The high makes the biggest difference, so this one you're going to use the least amount of. And you can turn off these different layers to see how they affect. Some people might just want to do a high frequency layer and just have one that they adjust. But this one you just have to be a little bit careful with. It can make a strong impact on the image. You can see already if I'm in 25%, it's too grainy. Usually I just do like 8 or 9%, depends on the image. But it's a little bit grainy, but like I said, I really like my images zoomed out some. This kind of view to me is more important. So I'm pretty happy with that. So I think Sky Story keeps these here to adjust if he wants, but normally when I'm done with something and I'm happy with it, instead of taking hours and hours working on it, I just kind of say, let's go with it, let's roll with it. I'm gonna merge it down, make a new pixel layer, get rid of these again, group them. I think you can always go back into the history and go back to points and stuff, but this is where I'm at. So now I'm going to be doing some fine-tuning stuff at this point. Maybe I always like to do some vibrance, because you can jack up the vibrance without affecting too much on saturation or getting any color artifacts. And then maybe I can just do a little bit saturation. At this point, if I wanted to move the colors around some more, I could adjust the colors some more, but this isn't really, I think, as sharp as my other version, but it's getting there. I still have some sharpening left to do, actually, so it will improve. I think also maybe at this point I probably could have done some noise exterminator. The noise exterminator plugins work here, but very important, you have to make sure it's on the pixel layer to do it. You have a pixel layer to do it on. I could still do it here. Filters, plugins, RC Astro noise exterminator will pop up like this. And you have the same kind of adjustment slider. It's gonna say look like it's not responding and look like it's giving an issue at a certain point here, and you just have to wait. There's nothing wrong. There's just no real, I guess, no built-in way for it to show it's still working in Affinity Photo 2, but it's still working. You'll just let this finish. There we go. Cleaned up some of the noise some. Still, I get this modeling in the background. I'm gonna mess with the background a little bit, and I really don't like the way this looks, but I will probably not want to spend time on this video fixing this too much, but this kind of stuff I would adjust. But I will do a little bit of background work. So I did the vibrance adjustment. Normally the way I do the background work is I take the luminance, one of these luminance, I'm just going to duplicate the one I already made. If I can find it. It's down here on the HSL layer, the saturation layer. If I duplicate this luminance and I bring it all the way up to the top. This was the nebula luminance, but I don't want to affect the nebula, I just want to affect the background. So if I invert this, now I'm just working with the background, and at this point I can bring any kind of brightness and contrast adjustments to just affect the background. You know, I could pull the brightness down, but it's not actually looking good when you do it like that. You can see it's just outlining the nebula, it's not natural. So this is not the best way to do it, but the contrast works a little bit better. If I use contrast here, it will be a little bit better for the background. And I can also duplicate it again, and I can do shadow and highlights on the background. It's a little bit like cheating, right? I guess. I don't know. Can we consider this cheating? But the background's always the thing I struggle with the most on my images because of my border. What can I do? I'm not going to move just for my Seestar. So I just have to roll with what I can with the tools at my disposal. And sometimes I use some of this JR macros to, there's a tool to soften structure, so I can soften the background. I can use that. This is not really that great in here. Doesn't really look that good. I really like the other pattern better. Maybe I shouldn't have messed with this at all. If you want to see what it looks like without the changes you make, you can just shut this off and see. It doesn't really make a difference, that much of a difference, just subtle, so I think I can just leave them in. I just don't like the way this looks. This is all Bordeaux stuff in my opinion. Maybe I'm just terrible at processing, I don't know. I think it's Bordeaux though. Or I'm terrible at processing. Oh, there was one other thing. Let me do quickly a curves adjustment. Doing the same idea. I'm going to use another luminance on the curves. Really cheating at this point. Now I can drag just the background down. It still affects the image. Yeah, it's too much. Cannot really do it too much. Don't like the way it's looking in here. There's a lab and there's a lightness. Can I adjust this? But still, it's a very strong effect. So really you cannot mess with it too much. It's a pretty strong effect. Anyway, once I put the stars back in, it won't be as bad. And I think this is acceptable for this video. It's not perfect, but acceptable for the video. So I've got these things done with the background. Oh, I can put the brightness in. Yeah, got these things done with the background. And the last thing I think I was, two things left to show you. Thanks for sticking with me. I don't think I'm babbling that much. Maybe. Let's merge these all down. Group again. Another group. Turn this off. Okay, now I will do the, I'll show you quickly with the levels tool. This is where we can adjust the black point. And actually you can see I'm already starting to clip a little bit of this blue when I did the channel adjustment. That's why I gave myself some room to work with here, because I knew eventually when we first started the black point, I had a long way to go where I could move the black point out, but instead I started working with the image and it would have started clipping even more, but this is alright, and this is enough of a sacrifice in my opinion. You can check the different levels, so I can move up the black point on the red some. Not sure if it's necessary, and on the green level I can move the black point up and actually making the background a little bit better. I still don't like the way it looks in here, but making it a little better. And the blue, you can see the blue's already clipping at the edge here, so I don't want to touch the blue. But there is another thing you can do with the different colors. If you go to the different colors, you can select the gamma level, and this controls like the kind of breadth of the color in the image, so you can narrow down where the red is affecting in the image or increase its effect in the image. So I kind of like these sliders. Again, I got this from Sky Story, and you know, I can kind of like almost works as like a vibrance tool here in a little bit of a sense, where I can really jack up the red a little bit more and change the green level if I wanted. But again, it's affecting the background, so I still have to be careful with it. The background was nice and dark until I messed with this red, but I think, yeah, I'll tame it a little bit. And the blue, you can mess with the blue too, how much of the image it's taking over. I think the blue is good where it's at. Yeah, so you have that level tool to work with. Now the final step is going to be live filter adjustments. You can put in these 3 live filters to control the sharpening even more. So I'm going to start with an unsharp mask, and I can just move the radius slider up. And again, you're looking, you don't want graininess. Here you're starting to get lots of graininess. So can just slide it back down, even move the factor up some, and kind of even these out. And I think this is looking pretty nice and sharp here. I got some color artifacting going on that I probably could have done a better job with, but you kind of get the picture. The point is to get the picture how these tools work. So it's a little too grainy. I think that's okay. Leave it at about that, and then I'm going to use the clarity tool next. The clarity tool, again, you have to be very careful with. Normally you don't have to adjust this too much. It makes a big impact. So just going to put this up. You can see it's starting to affect my histogram a little bit here. I have to be a little bit careful. I think 4% is good. And this last one's very strong effect, this high pass filter. This is doing, again, kind of the same idea that we've done with this frequency separation, but now we're just going to do one final slider to affect it. In this case now, because of the way this works, the high pass filter, you need to change the composite to soft light. You can use linear. I think some people use linear light, like we did with our previous frequency separation, but for this final one, Sky Story recommends soft light, and I kind of agree with him. I like the way the soft light affects, and really this is just a really tiny bit you're going to use this. You cannot go crazy with it. It gets too grainy. But actually with this image, once you start getting to like 7 or 8, I notice it can get a little bit messy. I kind of like it here. 1 pixel. This is too much, I think. I think this is actually looking pretty nice with the sharpening. It's a little dark here. There's also if the nebula gets the shadows start to get a little bit too dark, you can erase these out either when you're doing the frequency separation with the 3 levels, or here. I mean, I could have erased this so it's not as dark. It's not really erasing too much of the dark out. I think it, yeah, you can see it's getting a little, it's relieving some of this darkness, making it a little bit lighter. You can do this here to these areas of nebulosity. if you think it looks too dark compared to the background, but I think that looks okay to me. I'm okay with it. Anyway, we're zoomed in, it doesn't look as great, but now when you start to zoom out, it's not as bad. The background still got a lot of modeling. I think I could even fix the background a little bit more, but again, don't want to waste too much time with you here messing with the background. So at this point, I think I will just get the stars going. Pull in my stars. I think there's a better way to do this, but I'm not really sure how to do it. I just bring it in, copy it, and then I paste it up here in the image. Oh, maybe these are not the same stars that I'm working with here. They should be the same stars. Maybe this is why this isn't working. Let's see where my stars are. I think these are my stars. These are old stars. I brought in the wrong stars. Delete this. Let's pick the right stars. Here are my stars. See, I really like the way SETI Astro, the script stretches these. Maybe I made these stars a little bit too saturated, but I like the star colors to stand out. So I really like the SETI Astro scripts. Paste this in. Got my stars. Let's screen them. You can add or screen. I don't know the difference. Even I heard some people do soft light with them, but that doesn't look good. Anyway, I'm just gonna screen them. And yeah, I would fix up this background some more, try to darken the background. You know, when I did this, I still get the modeling. You can still see the modeling, but I think I also pulled back some of this shadows that's making here not really aesthetically pleasing in my this to me. I like this wispy area, but I don't like the way it's working over here. And also you can see I'm getting a little bit of weird things going on here. I don't know how this happens, but it's a good chance for me to show off this tool that will healing brush tool, this in-painting tool. Make sure you're on the pixel layer when you use it, and this in-painting tool, basically this will fix areas, like kind of just, I guess, use AI to you see how it got rid of the blue there. It's really nice the way it works. Just use AI to fill in the parts to make it more uniform where it should be. Probably I'm gonna just crop this part out some, but you can use this AI tool to kind of fix any of that. It also works really well for satellite trails and other things you might want to fix in the image. I mean, you can use it for the whole background if you want. It just takes a little bit longer, but can kind of clean up your image some and make it a little bit nicer in areas that don't look so bad. In fact, I'm just not even going to crop. That tool worked really well for me. So I'm just going to leave this as is. So at this point, I would just insert my signature, and I can export this out into the different formats. I'm going to export this as a JPEG. And I haven't figured out yet how to fix the color choices, the ICC profile, to get a PNG to not look dull. When you save it as a PNG, it looks dull. I'm sure there's a way to do it. I just have been satisfied with JPEGs at this point, and I usually do best quality, 100% quality. And then you can just export this wherever you save your stuff, and let's see what it looks like when I'm done. Non-signature versions I put in a collage folder so I can make collages later with my stuff. We're just going to call this M8HSO4X. HOO4X. Export it out. I can also save this here. Oh, I did save my last one. Somebody had asked about this. I did save it. I can show the high quality one. I'll have to link that. Anyway, I'll save this here. M8 H04X. And let that save, and let's see what it looks like. Get out of my folder. Oh, I have to go on collages. Here it is. Yeah, not too bad. Like I said, I would work with that background some and get it looking a little bit nicer. Try to get rid of less of the modeling, darken it up some, but completely getting rid of this modeling is just a very difficult task for me, and it's sky dependent. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. What can you do? You don't have control over the conditions. You just have to do the best with what you have. So anyway, I really hope you got something out of this video and it was not too daunting to listen to me speak and mess around, and I hope it helps you with your future processing goals. And feel free to ask me any questions, like I said, and give me any feedback on some of those things I did. And if you see something I can do better, tell me. I'm always ready to learn. I'm always ready to improve my images. And anyway, keep pushing them. If you don't like now I'm babbling. If you don't like to adjust your images and you just like the way they look off the Seestar, I'm totally cool with that. This is not me saying you should do it this way, but I do think if you want to push your images, you should push them the best you can if that's what you're into and that's what you enjoy. So anyway, thanks guys. Happy shooting. Cheers.